This could be a controversial.
A lot of men talk about, oh, men have high suicide rates. Yes, what are you doing about it? It does not matter how big your page is if your work is shit.
Why do certain men behave like this? As per you?
Because beyond a point, then it just becomes a battle of men feeling defensive and then women accusing. So then it doesn't lead to anywhere.
Definitely true that men really don't speak about these deeper issues.
It might be offensive to some men when I say this, but I feel like you need men and men need women, and we both do really well together. So there's,
The most insulting thing you can say to a man is, "Why are you like acting like a woman?" Right? This has
yeah,
been in the culture.
I think men do not live in the same reality as we do.
Welcome to the School of Men, Komal, and thank you so much for accepting the invite and being here today.
Thank you for having me and thinking that I have things of value to share with this podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited for today's discussion. We have already had a discussion around this topic, so looking forward to this. But before we dive into the topic of discussion today, let our listeners know what you do, a little bit about your background, and what are you doing currently.
So I'll start with a very basic. My name is Komal. On every social media, you'll see myself, like the tag that I use is a movement coach. That's just because I love teaching people how to move. I am a yoga practitioner since about 8.5 years now. And I teach people yoga asana and also strength training. So eventually, my aim is to be able to provide a very holistic movement experience to everyone, just to teach them how to be physically fitter and stronger and flexible over time. So that's in short how I would describe myself. I currently take online, just take online sessions right now, but for the longest time I had a hybrid mix of online and offline sessions. So that's my current status.
What's interesting about you is that is how I started following you. That is how I got connected with you. Is lot of yoga people they are against the strength training, at least most of them, and a lot of strength people are against yoga, like they are trying to prove that their system or let's say their method is the best. And that is what I find unique about you, and also through all your content and your conversations on Twitter and Instagram, I see that you are very objective, and you have knowledge of both the things, and that makes you really unique. So
Well, thank you for that. But you're right. I think there's a very extremist view on each end, which is so unnecessary. Movement is movement. All movement is good, and
mm,
it doesn't serve. I think a lot of this just comes from ignorance. There's a lot of ignorance and bias that sets up. You want to, what you're doing should be the best, which is quite unnecessary. And it's not how life works or anything works really.
yeah, yeah, true. I mean, this space of fitness, the online fitness space is it's a glamorous space, right? And everybody is trying to prove they are the best, and their
True.
system is the best. They are the best looking. They are the strongest. They are the healthiest, fittest. And I guess everyone goes through this phase. I have also been through that. When I started doing strength training, I was mostly into lifting heavy, and I wouldn't accept anything else apart from that. Okay. Uh, but like you said, you have spent like 8.5 years now in this space of fitness. The more time you spend in the space, the more matured you become. Um, if you're willing to learn, if you're trying to learn different things, and if you're willing to grow and evolve. Unfortunately, a lot of people still don't do that. They are stuck with one thing, and they are stuck there itself. Um,
Yeah.
so that's great. So, how has been your journey so far? You said nowadays you're mostly doing online trainings, online coaching. How has been your journey in the online space?
It's been great actually. I think all of us got into online mainly because of the pandemic, which is also why I got into it, because there was no other choice that time. And I genuinely did not think that it would last beyond the pandemic, which is why even after the first wave of the pandemic got over, I was like, oh, okay, now nobody's going to learn from me, so let's go back to studios. But the reality was that I did not realize that I actually was teaching students who weren't even in Mumbai. Okay, I'm based in Mumbai, and I was teaching students who were outside of Mumbai, like Pune, Hyderabad, Delhi, lot of other places, and also outside of India, which I didn't even imagine. So, even after the pandemic got over, those students still wanted to train with me. And that was so fascinating because I have never met these people in real life, but I have seen them transition just online from, a lot of their life stages. So it's been really good. It was also a steep learning curve. I think being a coach offline is very different, especially if I take live training sessions. So your queuing is not the same as your offline queuing, and students lose their focus. They, zone out when they're doing online coaching or training with me online. So I think it was very challenging to learn how to keep the students' attention on you, and also motivate them to be consistent to practice in front of a screen, because that's something that people will easily like take for granted and miss. So it was like it was fun. It was a steep learning curve. I had to change a lot of things about how I take my sessions, but now it's like it is not going anywhere. So if you're a coach and you're not doing online, you're really missing out. So you should either be doing a hybrid mix, but it's not something that you should neglect for sure. Like this is where the future is going, especially in the fitness industry. So it's been great and a lot of learnings for sure.
Did your business get better when you came online? How is it? Or your offline thing was better?
I would have a bias to say, see, I would say online is easier, and which is why it's better because see, it
Mhm.
removes the need for you to commute. As a coach, a lot of your exhaustion comes from just moving within the city from client to client or studio to studio. So that part was great. You also got an expanded reach, so you reach more clients globally and you're not just limited to India. So that's also really great. So your business will expand online. But I have to say, after working online throughout the pandemic, there is a certain rut that sets in. At least I experienced it personally. I love the aspect of offline community building, and I really miss meeting people offline. So I think for me, the business expanded online, but personally, I started feeling very stuck. So I would like to have a place. An ideal situation for me would be to do my online sessions, but also have an offline space to train people, because that's where you're also learning the most as a coach, and it's just fun to talk to people face to face. So yeah, but technically, money wise, reach wise, online business really helped me a lot for sure.
To this point, because I have been mostly training people in my gym, in the physical location. And like you said, the connection which you can build face to face is nothing compared to the online. And
Exactly.
like you said, online is the thing of the present, and will be the thing of future also. This is what I also feel. And that is why I'm also online. And I was, funny enough, I started online. Uh, but since I was not so good at social media, in 2019 I started, and I'm also a little impatient, so it did not give me. I'm someone who needs some validation immediately. If I don't get it, then I lose motivation, and then that is why I started my gym, and gym started doing very very well, and then the COVID happened, and the pandemic happened, lockdowns, and
Yeah.
then a lot of these celebrity deaths, heart attacks happening in the gym.
Yeah.
That forced me to come online, and but still predominantly I've been training people face to face, and it's a different game actually. You can see the people, you can feel their expressions, you can feel the energy, and you can do better work. Okay.
I agree.
But then when it comes to yoga, this is fascinating for me because yoga is it is more technique based and there is more skill involved. Like doing asanas, like simple asanas are fine, but advanced asanas and all, it's skill based. And compared to strength training is the simplest kind of exercise you can do. And this is what I feel after training for 9 years now and after coaching so many people. Um, it gets better day by day. But
Yeah.
I mean, the skill aspect is not so much. It will develop gradually and it will, automatically build when it comes to strength training. But yoga is, I think it's slightly difficult. What do you feel?
Yeah, for sure. See, it depends also on the goals that the student. Not everyone wants to come to my class to learn how to stand on their hands, which I mean, sure, I can teach it to them, but I don't teach that to everyone. It's very student to student based. So sometimes I get a lot of injury rehab. So once they're done with their rehab, they come to me because they want to come back to movement, or they just want to get into yoga asana practice. So when it comes to my group sessions, yes, I do make them get strong, and we do play around with some advanced asanas as a goal, but they're also extremely safe. There are some PTs that come to me who have very specific goals, like they are asana practitioners since a while, and they're quite adamant about being able to stand on their forearms, do a headstand, do a handstand, and they explicitly tell me that right from the start. And if I can recognize that, okay, this is what their background is. Now, after so many years, you kind of have a judgment. With online, the game changed, but also not too much. See, I was fortunate enough to learn under teachers who've taught me really well in my life. And I'll always be grateful to that because I've always been taught never to touch people unnecessarily. And even if I'm to touch them, there's a lot of background to that touching and adjustment I'm doing in yoga asana, which is why it's a huge pet peeve of mine, because I've been in the hands of teachers who've adjusted me in wrong ways, not like in wrong ways in the sense like it wasn't safe for me anatomically and physically, it was not good that they were pushing me like that. So because of that, I have a huge pet peeve of I don't need to touch people to make them learn how to stand on their head. Even when I'm teaching offline, the only touching I do is when I spot them and they're at the final end of getting over their fear of getting away from the wall in these balancing movements. So it was not that tough because I've been fortunate enough to learn from teachers who taught me technique in that way. And I've also learned that a lot of my teaching sources from my own practice. So I do a lot of my own study. I do study anatomy separately. I put in that work so that my cues are clear, and I also focus on learning teaching skills. Like, when you're doing technical asanas which are slightly advanced, it's very very sourced from your own practice, from the study you do, and then eventually you get that touch, like it's practice. So now that I've taught so many people, then you know where people are, you know what they need, you know the drills they need. So it's not that bad. I'll say that now. When I was a beginner teacher, I would be quite scared to do it, but it's just a matter of practice, just like anything else. And then now it's okay. Now it's just day to day stuff. So yeah, for sure. But if just like strength training, you get better at it when you're coaching again and again. Same with asana, like you just get better at it with practice.
Yeah. So you spent like 4 years online now as an online coach.
Yeah, yeah, almost. It's also surprising to. I'm always surprised, like, oh, it's been four. I think the pandemic years, we just forget that, I think 2020, 2021, I think it's just a blur in all our heads. So I'm like, oh, yeah, so much time has passed. But yeah, I'm almost 3, 4 years I've been online now.
Yeah, even for me, I still remember the first lockdown as though it was, yesterday.
Exactly. That
And here
timeline is
in
completely.
yeah, and here in Karnataka, lockdown happened on March 14th. Okay, our chief minister here, he announced we'll lock down all the gyms and movie theaters. Uh, 1 week before Modi ji announced the nationwide
Yeah,
lockdown. I still remember
yeah.
that day. I still remember we were very happy to go home, but I never imagined it will be stretched to 4.5 months. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
but
gyms and studios paid such a huge cost. It was very
yeah,
upsetting actually because remember they started opening a lot of things, but studios and gyms were shut right till the end. And the thing is that our industry is not united. We don't have leaders, so there was nobody to go and make a case for us because we are such small in number. But it was really upsetting. Some of my favorite even yoga studios closed down permanently. Like they just went broke, so they didn't reopen, and it was very sad. It was a very sad time for fitness offline, at least. Even though it opened online avenues, I personally know so many trainers who lost their job and everything. So it was quite a sad period for like sad period plus weirdly new and unique people period. So it was very chaotic for us, I think.
yeah, I mean the competition grew. A lot of people came online, and
Yes.
a lot of people started doing these home workouts. And I see a lot of ads which say, get fit without going to gym and without without diet, and it is still there. It is still there. I mean, a lot of people fall for that. Very unfortunate that it is still, that is still continuing. A lot of people, the media repeated it again and again and again. Like first thing
Yes.
is the first blow was the COVID. Second blow was
Mhm.
these heart attacks. And here, I don't know the national media and all, but here, at least in Karnataka, the media blew it out of proportion. And mainly because one of the Kannada superstars, Puneet Rajkumar, he died,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
was into fitness. He was very much into hit training and all. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know the difference between hit training and general strength training.
Yeah.
It's very, very
And we also
unfortunate.
don't know the preconditions. You don't know what his body was like. There are the thing is that there are so many people who get cardiac arrest just generally, but since
Yeah,
it was a unique case and it gets blown up, and it's quite silly because already in our country there's a lot of limitation when it comes to lifting weights in gyms already, and then you put such a news, it just adds to it. So it's quite ridiculous. And I also blame the media for it because they're very irresponsible in the way that they, cause like it's not because he went to the gym this happened. It's not always like that. It happened while he was at the gym. That's it. So it's a difference. So it is sad. And it was not one. I think there were so many news articles of so many people suddenly having this. So I was like, yeah, it was a weird time.
and I feel and I know that gyms have always been had this negative kind of impression because in the 90s and all, gyms were mostly owned by politicians, and all their henchmen used to be trained in the
Yeah.
gym, and they used to run gyms and all. Here, at least in bigger cities, there is awareness, and you have these modern gyms and all. In city like us, like the tier two, tier three cities, it is still there. I mean, it's picking up from the last 5 6 years. It is picking up, and better gyms are coming up in even smaller cities. But it is what it is. And like you said, awareness is the problem. A lot of people are not aware, and that is what we are about to talk now a little bit. So since you have been online for 4 years, what do you think is uh, let's talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. Okay, like we discussed earlier. What do you think is good? What's good happening in the fitness industry or the online space for so many people to come online and to be able to build their business and career online? And also, when it comes to the customer and client perspective.
I think the good is, of course, the fact that if you are smart about it, then you can build your own personal community, that you're serving online, which is always a good thing. And it's not just a community based in your city, it's like a global reach that you have, or a national reach, at least within India, outside. So if you're smart about it and diligent about content creation, about knowing what exactly you're on social media for and using it as a tool, it really helps increase the footfall into your business or whatever that you're running. So I think that's really nice. You're visible, you're basically, it's easy to create visibility for your product or you as a coach. So that's a very important part of business, of fitness in general. So I think that's the best part. And it's also easy to do that. It's not like you have to do a lot of mehnat. It's about it's ease. It's you're being yourself, and you're showing a lot of people that this is who you are. And I think that's very important as a coach. The bad is, while I'll say that it's easy, that makes it good, but it also makes it bad because now there's a subset of people, especially the younger coaches, who feel that only because their page is big on social media, that should automatically lead to real life success, or that should automatically mean more money, whereas that's so far from the truth, right? So I didn't pay attention to my social media growth as a separate part till maybe last year. The only focus I had was my work. And what I realized is that it does not matter how big your page is if your work is shit. Like your work needs to be good, which is why your clients will trust you and keep working with you. If you're not giving results to your clients, they are not going to work with you. It doesn't matter if you have 10K, 20K, 100K followers, right? So sure, you might get footfall into whatever you're running, either your business, your coaching, your product you're selling. But if the quality is not good, those people are not coming away, again. And if the recurring clients are not there, then there's no business success. So I feel the fact that it's easy to make a page and get big, a lot of people feel like that means even, oh, I'll be a famous coach and I'll earn a lot of money. That's not how it works. So I think it's a very thin line between knowing that, being smart, using the ease, but knowing that your work also matters. You need to have that balance between, your work and your online image and persona.
Because of this growth of the online fitness industry, or let's say even the social media and the online space, I think the biggest benefit the people are getting is they can be aware of things now. They can find out, all the available information online. And nowadays, you can find anything and everything. And
Yeah.
if you have a little bit of clarity what you want, you can definitely find what you want, right?
Mhm.
But then let's come to the bad of the online. It's also that uh, internet is very powerful. Anybody can build their influence online. Anybody can have a big following, and anybody who is good on the camera, who can speak well,
Exactly.
who can market themselves well, can can make can start influencing people. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think partly you're also trying to create this awareness through your content, and you keep debunking a lot of these myths online. So what do you feel about this? Like, there is this immense power in social media, and it can be in bad hands also. How do you feel
Oh
about
yeah,
this?
for sure. I think it's a huge problem. In fact, there's so much nonsense that's peddled in the name of fitness. And I would say, sure, in the name of yoga, there's so much rubbish that people talk. But even fitness in general, I see a lot of people, just
Yeah.
saying rubbish, for everything. With yoga, it's very, like right now, especially in the country that we live in, India, I think that you add the word Ayurveda or yoga into any nonsense that you're saying, people think it's true, which is ironic, right? Because literally, like, how in science, a lot of people ask, oh, where's the research for this? Where's the study for this? You can ask the same thing about yoga or Ayurveda. Like, what's the evidence? Which scripture are you quoting this from? Or if you're quoting this knowledge from some sort of an interpretation of, we have traditional texts or we have traditional knowledge systems, where are you quoting this from? And usually you will not get an answer for it. You can ask, like, okay, you're saying as per yoga, you have to do this and it cures some disease. As per Ayurveda, you have to do this, it cures some disease. My question is always, quote the source. And in general, either I get blocked by the people who are making this nonsense, or they just call me names, right? So the sad part is that a lot of people believe certain things, then they see a video of some woman or a man with well edited video talking nonsense and confirming their belief, and then it's like, oh, my bias is confirmed now, and then they
Yeah.
believe that as the truth, which is a very very dangerous path, because I've come across many people who believe a lot of nonsense on the internet just because a video is well edited. So that's, I don't know how to tackle it honestly. Like, I'm not doing much, I don't have a very big page, but I'm just doing it for my own small page of audience, who when they send me reels saying is the truth, then I will maybe make a reel on that saying that, hey, this is not true. But that's about it. I don't think I can barely make a dent in what's happening. I can only make the people around me aware of it. That's all. But it's quite sad and it's a little frightening, because see, you can confirm things from ChatGPT, you can confirm things from Google, but how many people do it? I don't know many people studying as much anymore. So it's quite weird. It's quite concerning, honestly.
What is frustrating for me is, as a coach, I try to educate people. I follow this educative approach. I just don't say, okay, take creatine 3 grams daily. I cannot say like that, right? If
Mhm.
someone comes and asks me, and specifically I'm using creatine because I have had this multiple times in my gym. Someone comes and asks me, shall I start taking creatine? And I say, okay, why do you want to take it? They'll
Mhm.
say, okay, I'll get, I'll have improvement, I'll build better muscles, and then I'll go, go into detail and tell them how it works. Okay.
Mhm.
And I have spent like half an hour, and someone going on the road says that, oh, creatine will cause kidney damage, and then my effort is gone in just 5 seconds,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. I
Same
get
thing
it.
with same thing with protein powders. I never push people to take supplements. I don't
Yeah.
even sell supplements in the gym. I used to only sell protein powders back then. Nowadays, I'm not selling that also. I used to explain what is whey protein, how it comes, what are the side effects, if at all, like digestive issues and stuff. And I also, if they have some fears and concerns, if they come with preconceived notions, I'll clear those things. They are
Mhm.
ready. But then someone will say whey protein will cause heart attack, then my effort is gone, right? And it has
Got
been
that.
very frustrating for me. It's not one time, uh, multiple times. Okay.
Mhm.
And also with these belly fat exercises, like same person
That's
comes to me multiple times, like four, five, six times. He asks the same thing.
yeah,
Array,
yeah.
give me
I
something for this. Give me something for this. I'll tell them this is it will not work like this. You have to reduce your body fat. You have to go below certain body fat percentage. And that too, I cannot guarantee if your belly fat will go first. It may be the last thing to go. In spite of that, people keep coming to me. Same person comes to me and asks multiple times, and it's really, really frustrating for me. Okay. And
no, get
because
that.
this power is with anybody and everybody, and a lot of people, they don't spend enough time learning and researching, and they come out and create some content. This is creating a lot of confusion.
Mhm.
Okay. There is a lot of
True.
information nowadays, but there is also too much of information and too much of misinformation. Um, a common person will never spend like 1 hour, 2 hour daily to study about it and to get to the depth and understand. And this is causing problems. This is what I feel. And then comes to the ugly part. This is where the ugly part begins. When you're trying to do something good, uh, it is inevitable that someone will, especially when you're growing, you might have experienced this, right? Someone, when you're doing good, someone will come and say negative, even though it may be related to the technical stuff, it may be related to fitness. There is always this fight going on, right? And
Mhm.
assuming you have been in such fights. How has been your experience there?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't a lot because I don't. I mean, I've only focused on growing my, especially my Instagram page deliberately just last year because I thought it's time that I should take it seriously. And it was still okay till I think the maximum amount of hate I've got is this year. Not sure why. Like I did get a lot more followers this year as compared to last. When I say lot more, it's comparative. Like it's still not as big, but it's grown. Like it wasn't growing for a while, and now it's growing a little bit. And it's mainly, I mean, I'm okay with it because I genuinely feel like if you don't have a thick skin, you shouldn't be making any content online because if you have a public profile, you will receive nonsense. And if you don't have a thick skin, then this is not for you. Like, for example, like for me, I have very strong boundaries where nothing online affects me. Like I have been active on Twitter, and I think Twitter and X is or X now is super brutal on you. Okay, so I think I have a sense of humor. I don't take myself seriously, so I find a lot of this funny. I would just laugh it off, and I don't care about it. But I think the bound it also becomes exacerbated when you're a woman though, and when you have a female profile, you even have to have even more thicker skin because you will receive comments whether you cover up, whether you don't cover up, whatever you do online, you will receive comments on you, horrible things, sexually suggestive things, inappropriate DMs, comments. So that's something that as a woman, if you're a public profile, that's just part and parcel of your life. But in the past few months, I experienced a volume that was much higher than I have in the previous because maybe my content was being shown to a wider audience, which it wasn't the case before. So suddenly, because of that, the amount of I'm used to getting inappropriate whatever things, but the volume was just up. So imagine like logging in and always seeing one horrible thing being said about you. So it did blow my mind a little bit, and I have to say that I think for the first time in all these years, I was a little irritated by it. So I did react to it, and yeah, I mean, there's not much you can do. You can just like mute them, block them, and report the account. But yeah, past few weeks though, I kind of got really angry. So if it's an anonymous account trolling you, you can't do much. You just need to block and move on. But if it's If it's dudes with their, like, there were men with their entire face visible on their profile was open, sometimes their families on their profile, everything is visible to me, where they work is visible to me, I just need to search them, and they send me inappropriate things on my DM. I just blast them everywhere. So I take a screenshot of the message, take a screenshot of their picture, tag them, and I put it up on all my social media so that all my followers and other women can see the messages and block those men in advance. So that's what I've done. I don't know if I would suggest this approach to everyone because it does take a little bit of a thick skin to even do this. But sometimes you just get angry. So I would just say that you need a thick skin. Like if you want to have a public profile online, you can't be affected by all of these things for sure.
I think a lot of people will not do what you did. It was really brave and courageous of you to do this, because you just want to have a peaceful life. You just want
Hmm.
to do your thing,
Yeah.
do your work, earn money, enjoy your life, right? Nobody wants to get into conflict like this, but uh, what you did was courageous. Okay, and I appreciate that. And I think this is a very very concerning issue for me as men, because you were unbiased, even though these couple of incidents which happened, you called out the guy, and you put out the messages on your stories, and the guys got humiliated, and then they repented. They were asking sorry to you and all. um, it sets a very good example for other women to do it. Okay, but a lot of women I have seen, start this negativity against men. They
Mhm.
start saying that men are like this, men, it's all men like this, men are dogs, all these things. Okay, and I really appreciate how you handled it. Okay, this is not unusual. I think a lot of women in the offline space also, like not only online, offline space also, get these kind of experiences, right? It has always been there. And because uh, people are online now, and you are visible to more and more people, um, the volume is the volume of these kind of messages, and these kind of incidents have gone up, right?
Mhm.
What do you feel like? Why do certain men behave like this?
See, about the previous point that you said, that I don't say all men are a name, all men are bad or all men are trash. I don't say it, but I do understand where the women are coming from, because you have to understand, as women, you're always protective. I think men do not live in the same reality as we do. Our reality is, imagine living your life as a prey. Like you're just being preyed upon. You're being stared at. You're being ogled, not as a woman. I have had horrible experiences ever since I started traveling, even alone in a safe city like Mumbai. Every woman in my circle has their horror stories. So when, even for example, this Kolkata incident happened, women viscerally get affected by this, because it's our reality. And oh, it only comes on the news when it's a rape. But are you telling me that women in your circle haven't had their, they might not talk to men about it, maybe, or they don't, but we talk. Every woman I know has had her story. All Indian women. There's a reason for it, and it's kind of sad that, even my first horrible, like weirdly horrible incident with my, it happened in my teens. You encounter, that's the first encounter you have with the opposite gender, like that really does a number on you. So I understand the anger and the sentiment with which they say it's all men, because it can be anyone, it can be someone from your family, it can be someone close to you. So you live your whole life policing your body, yourself, because of what others might do to you. So I understand where that anger comes from and why they're tempted to say it. But also I feel it's unproductive, because beyond a point then it just becomes a battle of men feeling defensive and then women accusing, so then it doesn't lead to anywhere. Why it happens, I'm not sure. I feel culture, like it's not even like an Indian thing specifically. Women go through a lot of rubbish globally, but also in India, I feel our culture is very, like I feel like there's a high segregation between men and women when they are younger. In their schools itself, it
Yeah.
starts. Men do not know that women are human beings is sometimes what I feel. Like they look at us as some sort of, either they put us on a pedestal, like, oh wow, like angel level, or they just don't understand us, so they don't think of us as human. Like it's not one normal human to another, it's just another creature that we are for them. And at some level I also feel sometimes it's resentment, of, I don't know, it's some weird resentment that they have, or even the way that they've been brought up to look at women. For example, how their mother is treated in their family, how they treat their sisters. It all starts from there, like how you're socialized. It's cultural socializing. So a lot of factors, I think. So I don't think I'm an expert on this topic, and I can't say why, but it is a definite problem that we need to address as a society. Like there is something going wrong for sure.
I agree to few of the things here. There is certain resentment, and
Hmm.
I can throw a light here a little bit why there is resentment, and because I have experienced it myself while growing up. While growing up, you don't you don't know any better. Like you are almost like an animal. What I can say, if you're not nurtured well, or if you're not shown the right direction, you are stuck with the thoughts which are going on in your mind, and that will always be there. In spite of growing up, you'll still have no control on your thoughts and emotions, and that is a big problem. But then young boys growing up, it is always that, at least what I have seen in the I have grown up in cities only, mostly cities, and people who are like middle class, upper middle class. It is always, the society itself is creating this kind of contest between men and women, girls and
Hmm.
boys. Okay. uh, I don't know, you might have come across this, like the elders, the parents, the uncles, aunts, and all, they're praising girls a lot. Okay. And whatever the boys do, like the boy stuff, the mischievous stuff, the dangerous stuff, the explorative stuff, which is very masculine kind of activity boys do, that is always reprimanded.
Hmm.
Okay. Because why I'm saying this is, not all these boys will go and start abusing women or start trolling women, but some boys, when they grow up, they'll evolve, they'll understand, they'll have relationship with other women apart from their family members, like girlfriends and spouses, and then they start to learn better, they start to understand better. But the boys who never come in contact with women outside their family, like they don't build these relationships, it may be a romantic relationship, or it may be a friendship, they will never understand this. Okay. And they'll carry this resentment, they have this hate towards women. Okay. A very simple example I'll take is, like the 10th standard results, the board exam results. Every year, I remember, here in Karnataka, the news headlines used to read, you know, the girls have done better than boys. Girls have done
Hmm.
better than boys, and a lot of our schooling system, it's more about studying, getting good marks. It is about dancing, like the extracurricular activities, um, and I think girls do better there. A lot of girls, and boys feel inferior here. Okay. And this builds up that animosity and resentment towards women, and this comes out in a different way. And in the online space, what happens is, like you said, most of the trolling happens through the anonymous accounts. Okay.
Hmm.
And these are the people who don't have this, they are not open about it, they have this hate towards women, resentment towards women, and that comes out that way. And also, one more thing, I would say is, how the relationship between a man and woman is portrayed in media. At least
Hmm.
nowadays, we have a different kind of media going on, the movies and all. Nowadays, there is a lot of vulgarity and
Yeah.
X-rated content online. That is also adding. But in 90s and 2000, it was always the uh, the hero and heroine. There is always this fight between them. They are fighting
Yeah.
with each other, and the girl gets attracted to the boy because he treats him. treats her badly. Okay, there is a
Yeah.
movie.
That still
There is a
happens. That's still, it's not changed a lot, to be honest. It's the
Yeah,
same.
it's
The
still it still
following, the
happens. There is
shopping.
this, the negative messaging happening, and also
Yeah,
a
for
lot
sure.
of there is lot of this, what I can say, this fake relationship gurus or fake dating gurus who will say you have to treat women badly, you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
act like an alpha, and you
Which
have
is
to
very
be
funny.
this.
I genuinely feel these boys who are giving these tips, I don't think that they have any female friends in their life. Like, I don't think so because, yeah, no normal man talks like that. Like, it's a very teenage advice to give to
Yeah,
boys. So it's quite
no,
sad to
not
say.
only teenage, like grown-ups give this kind of advice, and grown-ups do
They are
this.
set in a teenage mindset because I
Yeah,
don't think like they
yeah,
have any female interactions. Like, why would no normal man would give this advice? I have to say, So
yeah,
yeah, it's quite pathetic.
and this we can connect the dots back when you said there is this segregation, like
Yeah.
boys and girls are not, they are segregated. They were made. I don't know what happens nowadays in schools. We were made to sit separate, like there is a
Yeah.
girls row, there is a boys row.
Yeah.
And then one more thing is, whenever you don't get anything which is of your desire, like you don't get the girls, you don't get to speak to girls, um,
Mhm.
and you don't have like these relationships, then you start resenting those those, whenever you don't
Yeah.
get something, um, you start building that hate against that thing. It happens,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
if you're poor all the time, if you have been raised poor with the poor mindset, then you'll hate the rich. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you have always been deprived of the company of women, then you'll hate that also. And
Yeah.
there are very few uh, boys who boys who are confident, boys who are rich. Again, rich boys also, they carry some confidence in them. Okay.
Mhm.
At least they can spend, they can take girls out to expensive places and all.
Mhm.
Boys who are into sports and all, physically, they are good. Uh, Typically these are the boys who are confident, and these are the boys
Yes.
who who are good with girls, and they have more
Yeah.
girl friends, girlfriends also, more relationships, more number of relationships. And most boys are average, right? Most
Mhm.
boys are average. They don't have the confidence they should have. um, most boys are not rich, most boys are not good at sports. Okay.
Mhm.
And these kind of men, as they grow up into men, they also have uh, this resentment build up, right? I think these are the things I could add from my side, and I was researching about this topic a little bit. There are, again, it comes down to mental issues, like people who are generally sadistic, and generally most people are sadistic. There is some kind of voyeurism which is built in, which is innate to most people. Like if there is an
Yeah.
accident, a lot of people want to be spectators, right?
Mhm.
If there is a fight going on, a lot of people want to be the spectators. They don't want to
Mhm.
get involved, but they want to get a glimpse of that. And that's what
Mhm.
is happening online also. Like a lot of people are fighting, two fitness coaches, the low
Yeah.
carb
Yeah. That
versus the
sells.
low
Yeah.
carbs
Fight sells.
people. Yeah. And that is also adding to it, and I feel that is also not right. Like if something unjust is happening, people shouldn't stay warriors. People should raise voices, and people should take a stand here. And I think um, this will improve this dynamics a little better. This is what I feel.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's not an online thing. That's just an innate human. Like I think I'm not sure. I might be wrong. I think it's called the bystander effect, but I can be wrong about that. But it's like an innate thing that even if there's an accident and someone needs help, there'll be maybe one person who would involve themselves and help out. The rest would just keep watching, and it's been proved many times. Like there's research. So I don't think it's an online phenomenon. Like if we just are like that. It's like an innate human thing. and courage and bravery is not that common, which is also why it's special, because it's not common, right? So I think one thing that you said is interesting, that the resentment point where you said that women are now dominant, like they are doing well in exams, they are doing well in a lot of fields, which is interesting because you have to understand that women weren't allowed to do this for the longest time, and now that they are doing it, it's only recently that you can see women more visibly everywhere, and it's only because they were allowed very recently, right? So it's almost like the world, and especially our society, the Indian society, which is male dominated, globally we are male dominated, let's be honest, but like they're not used to seeing women visible in these places. And it's very interesting to me that now they are feeling resentful of sharing. In fact, a lot of times, even in the tech space or whatever, I follow news. A lot more women are now getting hired in technical roles, technical jobs, engineering internships, paid engineering internships that you wouldn't see. Like, you'd see a picture usually of like these engineering intern teams, and you'll see maybe like two women and all men, because women weren't interested in this field, is what the earlier things, like the stereotype was. But the truth is, it's not like they were not interested. Maybe they weren't allowed. Like, it's many things. Either the parents want to marry you off early, they don't think study is necessary for you, they don't allow you to explore, they don't allow you to go out to travel. Like, I mean, I grew up in a modern city with liberal parents, and I grew up with an older brother, but there were different rules by which we lived life. I was not allowed to go for sleepovers. I did not have a bike. I was not allowed to go out of my house at 11 p.m. My brother would be loitering with his friends at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and he would come back and he would tell me all these stories about him going to Pune and all of that with his friends. Me to convince my parents of sleeping over at my girlfriend's house. And my parents knew all my friends who were all girls. It took me 1 month of begging, and that too, I would not be allowed. Like, I would be maybe given 1 day to a friend that they knew, or the rule was that they would come to my house. And this is what we went through. So there are different rules, and I come from a family which, is liberal, but it's just the concern for safety and other factors of you roaming outside. So, it's such a different reality that we live in. And now that women are visibly participating in the workforce, which we really need, by the way, like even economically, it's almost like men can't digest it. I see so many even educated men sometimes saying, oh, isko to diversity hiring mein kiya hoga. So, and let's be honest, like दो तीन को कर भी लिया और diversity hiring में, you can't tell me that the entire team is done because of diversity hiring. Like, it's just something that they're using to cope with the fact that now women are, coming up and visible in these fields. But I feel like it's a balance thing. I think as time passes, this will normalize, is what I'm hoping, and it won't be such a big deal, and there won't be a lot of conflict between
Yeah.
men just accepting this. And I also feel a large part of it comes from home, like how you
Yes.
see your own mother and how you see your own sister, and you as a man, and anyone as a person, me as a woman, everyone as a human needs to grow and evolve. See, like whatever we learned as children, you're not the same as when you were as a child. You learn new things and you evolve, right? You're not the same boy that you were in your teens. So I think that at least you would expect that everyone else also evolves. But unfortunately, I guess a lot of people don't, which is weird. But also, you have to understand this, like, resentment that men have sometimes for women can be physically dangerous for women. Like, it's not just a mental resentment that they can have. So that's a huge issue. And I feel like there's a huge lack in men also calling out other men. I feel like men listen to other men, and whatever women say about this is not going to matter at all. We need more men talking about the fact that this is an issue, and having spaces where they mentor younger men in how to talk to women or just hang out with each other, because I genuinely don't think there's any other thing that would work. Like, a lot of people prescribe, oh, therapy and talking to others. Personally, completely personal opinion, I don't think that's how men operate. Like, something like therapy would work for females, and like because we relate by talking and communicating. I don't know how the hell men relate. It's a very man brain thing, and I think only other men can relate to that. So I feel like we need these spaces where older men or men who are kind of mature in certain aspects are mentoring younger men. And it's quite unfortunate that it's not there, because women do this naturally. Like, we have our own communities. Men need to make their own communities. Like, it's definitely a need. And I think that would really help.
definitely true that men really don't speak about these deeper issues and what's going
Yep.
on inside their mind. They don't speak,
Yes.
and everything is. There are few things which you spoke. I want to go into those things, but since you brought this topic up, let me say this that men really don't uh, talk that much into about these deeper issues, what they feel and all. Um, Among the friends group itself, there are very few. See, I have so many friends, and there are only handful of, not even handful, I would say, like I can count them on fingers. I speak to them about deeper issues. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing you said, it has been this culture of separating men and women. And you know what is the this is a thing of practice also, like uh, the most insulting thing you can say to a man is, why are you like acting like a woman? Right? This has
Yeah.
been in the culture. Like even when
Yeah.
you're growing up, when you're crying, क्या लड़कियों की तरह रो रहा है? This is, even the
Mhm.
parents say this thing. Even
Yeah.
women say this,
Even now,
right?
it's
Even
not
women
changed.
say
Yeah.
this, and that will
For sure.
create this, in the mind of men, that it's not good to be women. Okay, and women are lesser than us.
And
This
lower
is the
below,
feeling there. This has always
yeah.
been there. Okay, and this has to change, right? This has to change, like you're saying. You come from a very liberal family, and we cannot blame our parents also for doing this, like not letting the girl out in the
No, for
night and
sure.
all.
Because I
Because
understand the reasoning,
yeah,
safety, but
yeah,
like it's kind of sad, right? Like we lived in completely different realities in the same household.
yeah.
And I could see
And
that. So that says a lot.
whenever something like this happens, like the Kolkata case or the Nirbhaya case, it always the discussion is always superficial. Like in this country, women cannot go out. Also, there is no safety for women. Uh,
Yeah.
that will not change overnight. It is something which has come from hundreds of years of practice. Okay, and very important point you said, when men are resentful, there is this animosity between men and women. Um, Women could get hurt physically,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even the strongest woman stands no chance in front of an average man, right?
Yep.
That is the, that is the reality everyone has to accept. And for their own safety, I could, this could be a controversial statement. For their own safety, they have to, you know, um, take care of, for their own safety, they have to be um, vigilant, and they have to take care. They cannot carelessly go outside at the night
No,
and
but
all
that's
and
another
expect.
problem. Like that's very like that. The problem that women get very angry when someone says this is that men think that we don't know this. See, the thing is that while men were loitering around parks at 2 p.m., as women at 12 years, 11 years of age, you were very aware of your body because you were made to be aware of your body and being protective of it. So we are vigilant since the start. What you wear, what you're showing, what you're not showing, it'll always be blamed on you, is what you're told by
Yeah,
everybody since a
yeah,
very young age. So imagine growing up knowing this. Like I, as a grown woman, it's very condescending to me if someone tells me, take more care. Excuse me, do you even know like the amount of care we've been taking? That's men don't realize the reality. Like when I go out, even to a parking lot to get to my car, how I am equipped mentally, psychologically, physically to go to my car is very different from a man who would just go to a car. So we live in different realities. We are very aware that we have to be careful. Like all of my friends send me locations. Like I don't think men do this. When I go to an Uber, there are five people who have my live location every single time. If I'm going somewhere out, I know that these are the people who would know me. I have my emergency contacts. I click a picture reflexively of the car I'm traveling in. I have a weapon or a spray in my bag. Like every woman I know already does this. So I think it's quite unfair. Like we know this. I think since unfortunately since a very young age, we are very aware of the fact that we are female, and it's quite unfortunate. Like imagine as a child, suddenly feel like everyone's literally just eyeing you. It's a very icky feeling, you know. So it's sad. And when people say that women's safety is an issue in our country, and then I see some men get very defensive about it, it makes me feel, do you not talk to your female friends like around you? Because who would refuse this? Like it's a, I mean, women still thrive in India despite it, you know, not because of it. So I feel like there is a definite problem. And it's not, of course, like now India is in the news, but I feel it's a global thing too. Like it's just how it is, yeah, unfortunately. So we are careful. But at some point, we also have to address what's going wrong, that, you know, we have to be this careful. Like why is it like this? You know, it's a lot. It's weird, it's very strange. And you can see that on, it's the same thing that happens on offline that happens online. Like as a woman, you receive these comments about your clothes, about, and it can be everything. See, whether I put short clothes on my story or whether I cover up, I will still receive it. So I don't know, like what you can do. You'll be called names regardless of what you do. So even as a woman, you have two options: either you mute it, block it, move on, or you give in to your anger sometimes, which is, yeah. I also don't have the right way of knowing how to handle it. I just do what I feel is right for that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was coming to that. Like, as of now, women still have to be careful because
Yeah, sure.
we can only influence the men around us. Okay, the men in the family. We can bring this awareness and all. We can become more open as a family, more liberal as a family.
Yeah.
But it is still an issue. It is still an issue. Uh, which takes a very very long time to be addressed. Okay,
Yeah,
and that
for sure.
is that
For
is
sure.
one of the kind of work I want to do.
Mhm.
And the solution would be this is what I feel, with whatever little knowledge I have, little insight I have as a man. See, for men, pride is the most important thing. Okay,
Mm.
men need to feel this pride. Okay, and it is a masculine thing. I think women also have that, but in men, this is a very very dominant kind of emotion, pride. Okay, but we are not guided properly how to build this pride, right?
Mm.
How can you be more proud about yourself when you pursue personal improvement, when you're doing well in whatever you can do well? Like, it's not only about studies or sports. Uh, there is a the current education system, the current society, especially the education system, that is the main thing, right? That everybody is, they want to do well in studies, and everybody is being compared there. And
Mhm.
that is not right. This is what I feel. Everybody has to be nurtured well in such a way that their talents have to be identified, and they have to be put on this path of improvement in their interests, their talents, and their strengths. Okay.
Mhm.
uh, and for men, what has happened is men have always been the stronger sex. Okay, physically. And men
Mhm.
have been doing the difficult stuff, like the protecting of their women, going out, exploring, building stuff. Okay, the blue collar stuff is still done by men mostly.
Mhm.
Okay, and then nowadays we are moving more towards white collar. More and more jobs are white collar, and women are also doing well there. Okay, and there is this direct competition between men and women. I
Mhm.
still feel the representation of women is still very very low in all the areas, but men need to be shown a proper direction, that all these issues of resentment and hate towards women, animosity, uh, it will go away when you focus on yourself, when you become better in whatever way you are. Okay.
Mhm.
um, just to give an example, I'll take my example only. um, while growing up, I have been zero in everything. Okay,
Mhm.
socially awkward. Okay, very shy, introverted. My sister got all the attention. I was also not so good looking. My sister is very beautiful. She got the,
Mhm.
that is sad. This is a harsh reality. Like, beautiful people get more attention. Okay.
Yeah.
We have to accept it. Even within the family itself, it happens. Even though your family loves you, but still beautiful people will get favored. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, but this is a reality, and I'll not blame anyone here. It is normal human behavior. Good-looking people will always get more attention and more favors. That is there. And I was not good at studies, not good at sports, not good at extracurricular activities, nothing. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I started. I was in eighth standard. One of my teachers, he appreciated me in front of the class. This was a tuition, not the school. Uh, and because of that, I started doing well immediately. Okay, I was like below average kind of student. I started standing in the first 10 ranks in the class and all. I did very well in studies. Later on, it helped me to survive for the next 15 years. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, I did well in studies. I also got a good job and all. I started doing well in the job, but somewhere I still had this low confidence. I did not have this pride in myself, right? Because okay, I did well in studies, but I am zero in everything else. Okay, I have no special interest talents, um, which doesn't get any attention from other people, right? The only thing was uh, going to gym, becoming fit and strong, like uh, like Sunil Shetty, the Balwan. I was a fan of Sunil Shetty in Balwan movie. I think that is where I got into it. Um, that also did not work out. I went to gym. I kept quitting. Not never got the results. Only when I got great results in my fitness. That was in 2015 when I was already 30 years old. The first time I went
Yeah,
to gym, I was 15 years old in 10th standard.
yeah, yeah.
Only then I realized that all these years, why I felt I was not good enough, I was not I know I felt like a loser, was because I had nothing of my own. Like studies, do well in studies, get a job. This is all society expects from you. Your parents
Mhm.
expect from you. And my parents, they have worked very hard. They have got, they have given me great education and all. That is why I survived for those many years. But in order to survive, in order to not only survive but also thrive, you have to do something which is of your own interest. And
Mhm.
for me, fitness was that. Going to
Mhm.
gym, building muscle and strength was that. And I was a weak and skinny kid. I used to get beat up by every other kid in the school. So that is why I got stuck with strength training. It felt really good when I became stronger. But then this transformation was life changing for me. Okay, and that is how I became a coach. I decided that I have to teach this to other people. People, a lot of people may be suffering like me. A lot of people are average like me. A lot of people are zero in everything. There are people who are not good at studies also. Okay, they are not earning well also. They are not good at any other things also. So that is where I think I got the purpose in life that I have to become a coach, help other people to achieve fitness, and that is how I got into personal improvement, personal excellence, and that is what I'm trying to do. And the solution would be for to changing these kind of conversations we have, what we say to the boys, like uh, stop comparing boys with girls. That is first thing that has to change. Okay,
Yeah.
and start treating everyone as really um, not I would not say equal, but like when you start comparing, there is no equality there. Definitely there is no equality. And start treating everybody like human beings, like you said. Everybody is a human being, be it a girl or a boy. Treat everybody like human beings, and they have their own there is a different approach to raise the girls because their mental makeup is different. There is a different approach to raise the boys. Their mental makeup is different. Okay, like I
I
said,
feel something that also helps is boys socializing with girls. I think that
mm,
is also something that
yeah, that
a
is where
lot of
this
men lack
separation,
in their life.
yeah, that is
Just
where
for
this
friendship.
separation comes, right? Like
Yeah.
socializing with women is also not encouraged in the society.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
quite sad. There's always like, oh, there's no dosti, there's
Mm.
only, sexual
Yeah.
relations, or,
Mm.
you're looking at them as a boyfriend or girlfriend. That's not always true. In fact, I've had enriching friendships with males, and it's just been pure, innocent friendship, and even that gives you so much insight into coexisting, and you get respect. Plus, of course, you also learn things from your, like, now we live in an age where, men and women are dating each other. You also have to recognize the fact that, like with this whole dating discourse, also the way that men and women talk about each other. See, there are people who are good, there are people who are terrible. Okay, I don't think it's even very gendered. I think it goes both ways many times.
Yeah.
But only when you're friends with men in your life, or and they are friends with women, will they stop categorizing and labeling their female or male experience. For example, like I see a lot of discourse now, even with educated men and women, where they are now, how the dating scene is. It's quite bizarre. It's changed a lot. People use apps, or people just, whatever it is, whatever way that you're dating and meeting each other. Maybe you date someone, you have a bad experience with them. A lot of people are divorcing each other, etc. And then they'll be like, oh, that man did this to me, all men suck, or this woman did this to me, all women are the same. I feel that's the kind of mindset you it's a very dangerous place to be in. And that's where having friendships with the opposite gender really helps, because you kind of reframe your worldview. Like, hey, I had a really shitty experience with this person, but that does not mean all men are bad, because, hey, my male friends are wonderful. So I think that's also very important. I think male female friendships are so underrated. And it is so important. And come on, like, sure, when you're a teenager, you will say, oh, man will fall for a woman. It's not possible to be friends. That's not true at all. You're an adult, I'm an adult. And of course we can have a friendship. That's not everything is sexual, and not everything has to be. So I think that goes a long way too into reframing your mindset. When you talk to male friends, you kind of see the point of view that they are providing, and they also see where you're coming from, and then you kind of learn how to coexist rather than berate each other over small differences. I think that's quite silly, which is also a big problem now.
Like men and women can never be friends is also coming from the media, right? The Kuch Kuch
Exactly,
Hota
so
Hai,
true.
the Kuch
True.
Kuch Hota Hai movie. It is coming
Exactly.
from the
But
media,
there
and
are
this has to
it's
change. Like the society has
correct.
to start seeing this relationship between men and women with different lenses also. Like there could be a friendship, there could be like a mentor-mentee relationship. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, there could be, okay, romantic relationships have always been there. There could be just human to human relationship. Like if you're seeing a stranger who is a woman and you are a man, why not have a conversation, get to know each other? Maybe you're seeing each other only for 5 minutes. Why not be open as a human being? And okay.
Yeah, and I understand that, sure, there's always like a attraction sometimes with men and
Yeah.
women between each other. But I mean, I don't know how true that is either, because I've had friends, male friends who I've been close to, and it kind of almost becomes like a brother sisterly thing when you're friends with them, because I have friends who I know so much about, and they know about me, and I'm not attracted to them, and they've never been attracted to me, and it's very brother sister. Like, it's just that vibe that becomes, and you're very happy for what they are doing in their life. They are happy for you, so that's not even like, you need those friendships. They are as important. I mean, surely, sometimes it also happens that you're married, and your wife or your husband has insecurity with you being friends with men or women. Now that's a different conversation, honestly. Like, that's an equation that you and your partner need to come to. But in general, I feel just encouraging curiosity between both of these men and women when they are young is what's important. Like, you have to be friends with each other to like, I feel like there's a lack of respect a lot of times men have towards women too,
Yeah.
as people. Like, they don't respect us as human beings. They don't give us that dignity, which is what is lacking. And just when you talk to us, you realize that we have the same kind of human problems that you do. Like, it's the same. So it's just about having curiosity and acknowledging that we are also human being. That's
That is
all.
what it comes from. Again, going back to our childhood, we were always like, don't be like a girl, don't be like, don't cry like a girl. That has
Yeah, that
created
is
this, these are not, this is not one thing. These are so many small, small things which we have been, listening while we growing up. Okay, we have
Yeah.
always been
That is,
see, लड़कियां कितना कितना अच्छा अच्छा कर रही है, तुम देखो. This is always there. Okay, even in the schools, everywhere, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah, that is so true. You're right. You're
yeah,
right.
and even if you see in the families also, there is always this reprimanding of boys, like um, parents do it, like uncles, aunts do it. It is always, girls are always the best. उतना ज्यादा टेंशन नहीं देते हैं. Boys are
Yeah.
always like बहुत
It's
टेंशन
true.
लेते
It's a
हैं.
stereotype. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The stereotype that they
Yes,
encourage.
stereotyping, yes.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
true.
that.
And it even affects girls. Like for example, I mean, I was a tomboy when I was a child, and
Hmm.
I was not like a girl who is well behaved. So even that, affects you as a girl also, because you're not allowed to satisfy your curiosities because
Hmm.
of the fact that you're a girl. Like there'll be remarks that either your parents will hear it, like, oh, for a girl, she's very बहुत बोलती है. Just when you're just literally giving back what remarks you're hearing, you're suddenly termed as masculine, or jhalli, or all of those words we use to categorize you, when it's not about me being a tomboy, it's just who I am. And the thing is that if I had a different set of parents, I'm pretty sure that they would also repress and tell me to behave like a lady. I was just lucky enough to have parents who were like, she's fine, like whatever. But I have seen this, I've also seen, in fact, how you talked about stereotyping, how men are constantly kind of shown that he's a boy, he's very vile and unruly. Similarly, like I've also seen like women also being made to act like a lady. So in fact, a lot of times women, like how you said it's a very brave thing that I put up, and I'm not conflict averse, like I just put up people's faces when they message me inappropriately. That also happens because in my house it was fostered. Like I was never told to suppress my anger, whereas a lot of women actually are actively told and taught to suppress their anger. Like it's unladylike to be angry, and it's unladylike, it's shameful. There's a lot of shame built into us as women, as at a very young age. We have to be soft, we have to be demure, we have to constantly, from everything, police how we sit, how we stand, how we talk, how we carry ourselves. And I've seen this, like even amongst my own group of friends, there will be girls who would not get into conflict even when they're right, even if things are happening bad, and you kind of have to stand up for them because they feel scared. It also starts at home. You have to tell your girls it's okay to be angry, and it is needed sometimes, and you need to also nurture that. Instead of, women often gulp their anger, and that turns into shame, like internal shame, to be polite. And you need to stop doing that. Like for both men and women, like they should be this their own people rather than stereotypes. So that is a big deal in our culture also. I feel like there's a certain set of qualities boys should have, certain set of qualities girls should have, and if there's someone in between, then they are reprimanded like anything. They're trying to control, so that is a big issue, and that starts from the house, I feel.
Like this goes for men also. Like we don't have good examples. Like men are always shown to be,
True.
physical. Like when you're angry, you have to
True.
show that out, like
Yeah.
physically beating up someone or hitting someone, shouting at someone, showing that anger and aggression. That is very natural for men. It because of their hormones. It is
Yeah.
natural for men to be aggressive, but then it
Yeah.
has to be directed in the right way. Uh,
Productive ways. Yeah.
you can handle it in a better way. It has to be shown how to do it. See, when it comes to setting examples, we have wrong examples. We see the we see men in movies, like the heroes. We see them as our example. Okay, and um, I think they have been doing a very, very bad job of you know
For sure.
portraying men. Okay, that is there. And also another thing what I wanted to bring up is like in between the group of men itself, whenever you do certain stuff, like you are trolling women or you're teasing women, that is seen as a sign of manlyhood. That is seen as the sign of being brave and courageous, and teasing
Mhm.
women left and right, uh, not worrying about the consequences. This is because most men are always thrill seeking. Okay,
Hmm.
seeking thrill is a masculine trait. Okay,
Hmm.
and this has to be directed in a different way, something which is more productive. Okay, and also same with smoking, drinking, all the habits, speeding on the roads, because this is something I have done, speeding on the roads and all. It gives this thrill, and that
Hmm.
is why men want to play with danger, and there is some danger, there is some consequence when you tease women in the open, or maybe online also. You satisfy this urge for thrill, and this
Yeah.
has to change. The masculine energy in the men has to be directed properly into productive things, and it is a very, very powerful force if it is used in the right way. And this is
Yeah,
something
for
which is
sure.
there in both women and men. Some women, like you
Hmm.
said, tomboyish kind of women, they have this masculine kind of vibe
Yeah.
to them.
But I mean, even if women are being masculine, they wouldn't the masculinity only extends to them exploring the world in certain ways that
Mm,
maybe other women would. Like I was very sporty. Like I have played sport all my life like since I was very young, and I would train physically grueling hours that most women wouldn't enjoy, but I enjoyed that. So my tendency was to go towards physically active activities. But even if women are doing that, they wouldn't do this it doesn't come out in harassment of other people. For example, I feel the thrill seeking behavior that you described, like why would men have the audacity to do that to us if they actually looked at us like human? And I also find it interesting that, a lot of times when men are taught, even like if something bad happens, like the Kolkata case, a lot of narrative is like, imagine if this happens to your sister, imagine if this happens to your wife, your mother. Like, do you really need to have a relational thing to acknowledge that something has happened? Like, I always find that so disturbing that the fact that another human being is violated should be enough. Like, I feel like there's a certain lack of empathy itself when it comes to an unknown woman just, being violated or being harassed or being catcalled. It's just forget about your sister or your mother. It's a human being that you're treating like that. I feel that there's a lack of empathy itself when it
yeah,
comes to this narrative. So that I find very interesting. Like, I completely get your thrill seeking thing. It's true, but it's interesting that it's projected on to us as if we are just objects. We are not objects or toys to play around with. We are human beings, which is why I also feel like the empathy might be there if you actually become friends with us and you realize that your so-called, like, men have a tendency to, like, what I feel like, I don't think it's a good or bad thing, okay? Like, it might be offensive to some men when I say this, but I feel like there's a big main character syndrome that a lot of men roam around with, where they feel like, oh, I got rejected, oh, I got this is happening in my life, and they think it only happens in their life. Like, I'll be honest, I've gone through like a lot of things in my life that I'm not, public about. I don't whine about it, but I deal with it. And I don't run with the assumption that nobody else in the world is going through these problems, which is why I don't whine about it. I'm just like, mere saath hai, sabke saath hota hai. Everyone has their own battles. But I notice this tendency that a lot of men have, that they think only they go through it. That, oh, as a man, oh, actually, as a man, people will understand you. You need to talk. Like, you have to talk, which you don't. I think they lack the ability to communicate, so they internalize everything and they feel like they are, it's almost like they are the victim of a lot of things that are happening. Let's, like, when I talk to my male friends and they talk to me, one of the things that happens is they realize I am going through a lot, they are going through a lot, we have our personal battles, and we are humans. So we deal with it in our own ways. But that's a thing I've noticed a lot of times, like men, the lack of empathy, which is not there, maybe just because of the way the mind works. So it's something that you have to learn, as you go through life. And also the lack of communication, which I also feel is contributing. Like, a lot of people talk about male loneliness,
yeah.
male suicide rates. It is a real problem. But I also have a problem that, like, somehow when women are talking about their issues of navigating the world, a lot of men talk about, oh, men have high suicide rates. Yes, what are you doing about it? Like, I think the men also need to think about building these community spaces where, if you don't like talking about it, I completely get it. So deal with it in certain other ways that men do, because as a woman, I can't advise men on how they can address this, because I don't know what would work. And what I would suggest is a very feminine angle to it. So I genuinely feel like you hit the spot with knowing where maybe the source of men's behavior comes from. But then my question is also what can be done about it? Like, I don't know. So it's concerning. I don't know how this can be changed.
It's quite a complicated topic, and we
Yeah,
are no psychologists to talk about this.
yeah,
But
100%.
see, one more thing, what I felt when you said empathy, like men don't show empathy because they have not been shown empathy. That is also there.
Yeah, that can be
Like,
true. I completely, but
yeah,
that's what I said. Like, it's something that you can still learn, right, through life
yeah,
experience. Like, you learn, you talk to other people. And now, see, I know that you're a dad. So you even have even more greater perspective on this now. So as you've gone through your life, you also must have learned these things along the way. You have a partner, you've also navigated your own life along with your partner. So you have that perspective now. So you know that what I'm saying and where I'm coming from. That in general, men do lack a level of empathy
yes,
and relating to other people, I feel.
yes, yes, definitely that is there. That is there. And yeah, I mean, a few things, if I have to summarize, is one thing is we have to change the conversations we are having at home, and treat everybody like human beings, boys or girls, they have to be treated like human beings. The comparison has to stop. Comparison
Mhm.
between the boys and girls have to stop, and unnecessarily comparing girls, praising them in front of boys, and reprimanding the boyish kind of things they do, that has to stop. They have to be also, what I could say, um, treated with a little more care and empathy, and also made to express their emotions. Like a lot of times boys are not when they are crying, they are less shut off by saying don't cry like girls and all. That has to come out, and that is where I think
Mhm.
the change will happen. And the media has to take responsibility here. They have to come up with better content, better movies, better series, or whatever stuff they are doing, where uh, these things has to be shown. And the relationship between men and women, all different possible relationship dynamics has to be shown in the media, and how to
Yeah.
deal with this, because we have always been dealing with only one kind of relationship, that is a um, romantic relationship, right?
Yeah.
And now it has the lust relationship, the latest media that is going on. There is
Yeah.
only this lust between men and women that is shown. But media has to do a better work of showing the other array of relationships men and women can have. That is where change can happen. Apart from that, men have to have some community of their own. They have to come out and
100%.
open up, try to become
Yeah.
better, focus on becoming better. Girls, money, everything will follow, right? If you focus on
Yeah.
yourself, you'll find the right person for you, the right girl for you, the right woman for you. That will always happen naturally. And
Mhm.
if you're a man of value, if you're doing well in your life, if you're focused on your own growth, and if you have purpose in life, the woman will follow, right? This is what I would suggest men. Like, this would be my advice to men. Like, if you just
Mhm.
focus on yourself, women will come. If you just be a good human being, you will have all the fulfilling relationships in your life that will come. Okay, that will be
Mhm.
my advice. What will be your advice? What will be your parting words for men and women both?
I think for men, it would just be to foster a sense of curiosity for the opposite gender rather than stereotyping them and approaching them with certain already you have some judgments about how females are, how females behave. Put that aside and just have curiosity and openness in talking to us as a human being. That's the only thing that I'd say. And for women, I think that in general, I think that women also need to learn how to not be conflict averse. I feel like if you feel like something is, you're not being treated well or you have some sort of a problem, instead of internalizing it or having shame about it or having like thinking, oh, all the men are just like that, vocalize it, and talk about what exactly you have a problem with. And when you do that, even for yourself, you realize, hey, so this is the problem that I'm experiencing, and instead of internalizing, you actually deal with it. rather than, just like basing your worldview from the fact that something bad has happened. So I'm not sure if I'm able to express it properly, but it's just about being more vocal about what bothers you rather than internalizing it within you,
Yeah.
and not painting the entire world as some sort of way. But I think this also applies to both, to be honest. I think right now there's a lot of extreme climate where everyone's blaming each other in a lot of ways, even between genders. Men kind of, there's a huge community of like red pill men saying a lot of things about females to young boys, which is very disturbing sometimes. It's also very funny to me when some teenage boy is talking shit to me because he's a child, and I don't find that like it's just going to be so bad for him. And same with women, where I completely understand the anger, right? The emotion of anger, where a lot of injustice you see being done and then you feel it, but it does not mean that this is a war against the opposite gender on, like, for both of them. I think it's doing a big disservice, because let's be honest, at the end of it, if you're heterosexual, you're a straight person, you need men and men need women, and we both do really well together. So we both have complementary qualities. And if you do end up getting along with men in your life, whether as friends, whether as partners, and men fit into your life as friends or partners, you can build really cool things together. So it can be really beautiful. So I think just getting into this extreme clan for both men and women, where men are like, oh, I hate females, and females do this, and men's and women saying, oh, I hate males, that is a big disservice to yourself. Like, personally, you will be negative, you will be miserable, you will
Mm.
not have fun. Like, you need to have fun, treat everyone else as a human being, as an individual. There are systemic problems that exist between men and women, yes, but does that mean that your individual experience should be dominated by what's in the, like, what people have a problem with in the mainstream? No, I don't think so. So you are the director of your life as a man or woman, and who you attract into your life and what you're doing does depend on you and how you're looking at the world. So if you're looking at the opposite gender as an enemy, that's also the kind of person you will attract constantly. So you need to really rewire that mindset. See who you're hanging out with, see the kind of conversations that they're having, and really rethink if that's the kind of way that you want to feel throughout. It's a very depressing way to live, honestly. Like, I love the male friends in my life. I've dated men. I've really, like, had very good experiences with men. I have great men in my life. And the thing is that I have a positive view of men because I have those examples in my life, right? So I understand that if you're a man and woman, or a woman, and you've only had bad experience of the opposite gender, whether in your family, whether your friends, your partners have been nasty to you, I completely get where the resentment comes from. But you still have to kind of fight with that urge of classifying the entire world into one category, and still kind of rewire and unlearn a certain patterns that have built in your own mind because of it. The news is not the truth. The news is news because it's a unique thing that's happened, right? So I don't think that you should fall into this trap of extremes. I think that's really, really sad, and I see it happening more and more. So I hope that they can unlearn this stuff that's happening. That's about it.
I think it will. I think it is coming, and more and
Yeah.
more men and women uh, are realizing this. And
Mhm.
chaos is always a good thing to have, because with chaos also comes this contemplation and um,
Yeah.
trying to learn and be better. Okay, and
Yeah.
you said there shouldn't be this blame game, like men shouldn't blame women, women shouldn't blame men, but try to understand what's happening here. Something like we did now, having this kind of discussion and conversation. And you also said the war is not between men and women. The war is we are together in this war, and the war is against the old ways,
Yeah,
and following
exactly.
the stereotypes which have been set in our culture, that
Yeah.
has to change. And uh, if we start treating each other as another human being, and with their
Yeah,
own different qualities,
of course.
then I think we can together build a better world, a more beautiful world,
Mhm.
where they have their both of both the genders, men and women, have their own well-respected place in the society. And
Yeah, and even if we can't change the world, in fact, I find that we don't have to change the world. A
yeah,
lot of people think too much about the world, but they have to
yeah,
understand that it starts from their life.
yes,
So if
definitely.
you don't have those relations in your life, if you are thinking about other people like that constantly, that is also not like, if you improve your life and your relations, you're also improving overall
Yeah,
what's happening in the world. So people forget that it starts from you. They only think about, oh, the world. Look within. I think the most difficult change is within yourself, unlearning a lot of patterns, a lot of conditioning that you have as a child. So work on yourself, work on your narrative, and don't fall into these 30-second, 90-second reel clips that you see about men and women, and then you're like, हाँ ऐसे ही होता है नहीं होता है. Like, it's not like that. It's quite sad for you to deprive yourself of enriching friendships with the opposite gender, or even like partnerships, just on the basis of ridiculous stuff that's happening online. So it's sad. So don't do that. Do like forget about changing the world. Just change your relations. Let's start from there.
yes, yes, very, very well said. The outer word is just a reflection of your inner word. If you
Mhm.
change, the outer
Exactly.
word will respond in the same kind.
Mhm.
It has been a great conversation, Komal. I didn't even realize we spent 1.5 hours speaking.
Yeah, yeah. It was fun. It was very
Yeah,
interesting. It was very insightful. So thank you
yeah,
so much for
yeah,
giving me the opportunity. I think it would be better if a lot more people have such discussions.
yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I guess it's a good start. We can have
Hmm.
more conversations in future also. Uh,
Yeah,
we take this commitment from every guest that you have to come again whenever there is a interesting conversation to be had.
done, done. I'll be more than happy to. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.